That works.
So I'll see.
Okay. So we'll start over again. Hi,
I'll make
Julie
you pop
Reyes,
in.
we're now up to Jillian from Spartan Dival.
Martin Dival, grew up in Kingsbridge and Bedford Park. I am a college professor at Hunter College, and have been in the CUNY system for 11 years now. I teach in Latino studies. My training really is in communication and media studies, so sometimes they borrow me, but but mostly Latino studies.
Okay.
Mhm.
Sylvia Alexander, I'm Chair of the Education Committee.
You've been on the board.
Oh, I've been on board 15 years. Serve on some other of the committees and land use and LRE.
Okay.
Mary Dempsey, the same 15 years as Sylvia, and when Steve Fruit comes, Steve, Sylvia, and I all joined the same year, so we're the 15-year class.
Cohort.
Yeah. So I've been on just about every committee. Oh, yeah.
It works.
You know, and been chair of 3 or 4, and vice chair of the board, and chair of the board. So, I've been 15 years.
It works.
There we go.
Yeah.
What's that video displaying?
Not the door, is it?
Is it-
Doesn't look like it.
Over there, yeah.
A maintenance store, but you can see the
David,
glass.
we'll do a walk around later.
Yeah, okay, David Gellman.
wall.
I chair the budget committee, member of Parks, Traffic and Transportation, Land Use, and actually, I didn't mention it last night, I forgot, the Hudson River Greenway Special Committee. I've been a member around 8 years.
We'll talk about the fact that, there won't be any 15 and 25 people.
It'll be there, lost.
There, oh.
There's a lot.
And I'm not talking about.
Write a
me.
book, leave it
I'm not
behind.
talking about me. I'm talking about you folks.
Talk.
Agree with that, yes. Jessica?
Hello, everyone. My name is Jessica Sosa. I am new to the board. I was born and raised in the Bronx. I'm in the Land Use Committee. I am in the Discipline, Law, Rules, and Ethics, and Housing. I have a background in mechanical engineering. I'm currently a project manager at a high-rise construction site, and that's kind of what motivated me to join the board. I figured I can bring some insight on just my experience, you know, to help make decisions for our community.
Working for an agency or a company?
Company.
Okay. Was that you?
No.
Okay.
Oh, that, yeah, on the screen? No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I figured it was, the construction event.
Yeah, I was at work.
I'm gonna pass for a moment and then come back. Steve?
I've been a member of the board for over 10 years. I've served on the Health Hospitals Social Services Committee. I chaired that for about 6 years, member of Law, Rules, and Ethics. In the old days, attended land use a lot before it was a designated committee for unique membership as opposed to a committee of the whole. And I've also been, worked on the nominating committee several times. I've chaired it a couple of times. I've been involved in attempts to hire permanent district managers, and worked closely with chairs over the years on special projects. I'm sorry, I'm an attorney. I practice corporate litigation at a firm called Boyce Schiller Flexner in Manhattan, and I live in the neighborhood.
Steve just led into one of the things I'm going to bring up. I'm chair of the committee. I've been a member of the community board for more than 40 years.
Wow.
Okay, someone who's more than me is Chuck, and that's important to note. Chuck was the last chair of Community Planning Board 14, which became Community Board 8 under the city charter, and he became the first chair of Community Board 8. And I note that this committee was known as the Ethics Committee at that time, and strangely enough, it consisted only of attorneys. Now, we're lucky to have 2 attorneys, and for a wealth of knowledge. in many, many ways. And, I'm the first non-attorney to be chair of this committee, but a tough off.
It is.
She takes credit for that.
As Rosemary became chair of the board and left as chair of the Law, Rules, and Ethics Committee, my arm is healed now, but she broke my arm, and for quite a while I've been chair of the committee. And I don't think the ethics have changed, but the laws have. At any rate, here is and we have a couple of people who are on Zoom, telecommunicating. We have, first item of business after the minutes is going to be, 2 SAPO applications. And one of the SAPO applicants is on now, and we'll hear from them shortly. First item on our agenda is approval of the June 2023 minutes. Just to note, right now, we have a quorum, but if the 3 of us on this special note, if the 3 of us who are at this meeting are the only ones who vote for it, the minutes are not approved. So the question is, even if you weren't at the meeting, can you vote? I know I sent a lot of stuff out before this meeting. I'm hoping I sent out a copy of the minutes and you had a chance to look at them. If you have any questions about the minutes, please, and I suggest if you have questions, raise them. Otherwise, hopefully you'll take the counsel of the 3 members who are here, who I hope will vote for the minutes, and you will too. So is there a motion to approve the minutes? Moved. Steve, and seconded. Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? With unanimous approval of the minutes, I thank you for getting past that hurdle. Okay, so I'm going to skip all of this here, which were the minutes, in case anyone had a question, and I needed to discuss it. There's an item for the minutes that I will bring up shortly. First, we have 2 SAPO applications, and I'm going to ask, I believe it's Andrea, Vanessa, if they would unmute themselves and tell us a bit about their application and what their plans are.
Sure, I'd be happy to go first. My name is Vanessa Teneo. I am the Director of Student and Family Affairs for Girls Prep Bronx Elementary 2. We are located at 120 Eames Place. We are new to the community, and some of our core values is excellence, scholarship, merit, and community. And being as though we are new to our community, it is very important to us that the community get to know us and that we get to know the surrounding community. So we want to have an event where we can have our existing families, our currently enrolled families, participate in getting to know the community around us currently. And we want the community to be able to get to know us. So we want to partner with different community partners in the community around that promote educational resources as well as mental health and just extracurricular activities where not only our families can participate in and get information for, but the surrounding community can also, we can learn about their needs and how we can support as well, since we are in the neighborhood and we want to partner with our surrounding people as well. So we wanted to throw this block party event with the idea that we'll have a lot of great activities for families and students to participate in, but also that we have tabling with all of our community partners that are invited, that can share their information around all of those things that I mentioned, and be able to just get more resources for themselves and for their children, but also get to know us in a different way.
I have on my share screen, there are 5 questions, just to give us a sense of what your plans are. You see them?
Sure. Yes, sir. I see them. So So the idea of our event is that our existing families will actually come into our school, go into their classroom with their teachers, get, an academic experience with the teachers and their scholars, and then come out to the block party and participate in almost like a resource fair and activities in the block party area outside. While our community members that are not enrolled in our school get information about our school outside in the block party area, and also participate in getting information around the resources from our community partners that are invited to table. And then a little bit about our history of relationship of applicant to the organization / community. We're new to the community. We were located at 151st Street in Grand Concourse at the Boys Prep location. We are an all-girls elementary school serving K through 3rd grade. We are a founding school, so we are always growing a grade every year. And we serve Black and brown girls from the Bronx community. We have 5 other sister schools, 4 more girls prep elementary and middle, as well as a boys prep elementary and a boys prep middle, and looking to grow even more in the city. And financial obligation to clean up. Can you clarify a little bit more what that question is around?
I really, I really have no doubts about you. It's a question I throw out. We have 2 SAPOs, and I want to cover that to make sure. And I say no doubt about you. Obviously, if you're establishing yourself in the community, you have a commitment to making sure you're a good neighbor in the community. So I'm not really concerned about that question. I would, in fact, welcome you to be part of Community Board 8. I'm just going to ask Sylvia, who is chair of our education committee. I had the impression that charter schools needed to notify the community board, the education council, that they were coming in, and we knew nothing about your existence. So I'm a little confused by that.
I'm honestly not sure. This is my first time at one of these meetings, so I'm not sure about those logistics. I'm here representing for like the family engagement part of this and the community engagement part of this. But I can get more information on that. I'm not sure why you were not notified.
Who's your authorizer?
My principal, Nolani Gabriel Holt.
No. Is your authorizer
He's the SUNY or Board of Regents.
the Charter School Institute or the Board of Ed?
Board of Ed.
Board of
We're a
Ed.
public charter school.
Okay, do you have any questions, Sylvia?
Was this school, organized in the location where the boys' school now is, or are you totally new?
We were at the boys' location, and because we are growing, we moved into this new location.
At that time, did you have the, okay from the Board of Ed to to run that school? Is that the way
Yes,
it works?
Yes, ma'am.
They're existing, it's not a new one.
Yeah, we were.
New in our location, but it's not a new one.
From my experience with charter schools, there is, I believe,
Sometimes they're at the grassroots.
the charter school I've been involved with has 5 schools, and I wrote 3 of those charters, so I know something about the subject.
Oh, okay. That's helping.
Is there somebody else who's here representing you? Say hello.
No, it's just me representing the girls' prep.
Okay. Okay, so I believe we have all the information we need. Oh, I'm sorry.
I have a couple questions.
I'm sorry, Vanessa, Director of SFA, what was that?
Director of Student and Family Affairs.
Okay, and the other thing is, you're moving in, well, two or more. You're moving in, I guess, into the Luisa Pinheiro Fuentes building?
We are already in there, yes, sir. And we
Okay, that is
start,
the site. And so Ames Place, where you're gonna have this, is only 2 blocks long and is not a material thoroughfare that a lot of people need to drive through,
right.
correct? Okay. I just wanna make sure it's not really gonna interfere with the neighbors, and I don't think it really will.
No, I don't think so. It's a very short street and usually people go straight toward, I believe that's not university,
University and Web.
correct, Web.
Ms. Murray?
Hi, nice, thanks for your presentation. There's a requirement of SAPO, because you're gonna close the street thoroughly, right? It's a complete street closure.
Yes.
And I heard you say you're setting up tables, of course, you're gonna table the event.
Sure.
Are you aware of the fact that you have to make clear 15 feet in the middle of the street for the full length of the street, emergency vehicle access?
Can you repeat that again?
Yeah, I'm sorry, it's important because you're gonna have children and families, and so you just have to, not that it has to be, nobody's allowed to step in the 15 feet, but you should not you shouldn't put tables in whatever that 15 feet, wide emergency route is. That would be the only thing.
Okay, totally noted. We will make sure that we have that and we do not place any
Okay,
tables
that's-
within 15 feet.
Okay.
Anybody else have any questions to ask?
We don't see many SAPO applications in this committee. I just was curious, and maybe this is obvious to other people, there's a street that runs one way, out of Ames Place or Eames Place, Claflin Avenue, and so, presumably there's no way to get into Claflin unless you back your car up. I just don't know what people do in those situations. In other words, if someone needs to get on that street because they live there or they need to drop someone off.
Right.
It may only be a short block. I'm just curious how that works, and you may not know. but
I
please-
definitely don't know since we're new in that area.
Isn't it a requirement also of SAPOs that you inform the neighbors in advance of the request?
I'm sure, actually. I'm not sure.
My
I
first
can say.
SAPO. You've had SAPOs?
Yes, I've had SAPO, but usually the agenda makes it clear as to which, SAPO is being heard and which street is being closed. And public, website, it's, distributed everywhere so that we don't do individual contact to neighbors.
But flyers on the street posts, or whatever,
Yeah,
would be helpful.
yeah, and then more than 12 hours in advance, like 3 or 4 days in advance. I mean, I thought that, what's the other thing that we require people to tell the neighbors before they come to us? Is it,
Citing of certain facilities, like
Yeah,
group
okay.
homes and the like.
Yeah, okay. But at any rate, Vanessa, I would certainly encourage you to contact your neighbors more than a couple of days in advance. Let them know that street is gonna be closed and Claflin will be difficult.
Yeah, I mean, I assume you have to be in touch with the police department, and I'm not telling you to do that, but I don't.
Because you have to okay it.
Yeah,
And also, they are closing Webb and University, so it has no, danger of Claflin.
Closing them or not allowing entrance onto Webb?
onto Ames.
No, they're closing them.
No,
No, I can't.
no,
It's an Eames Place.
just Ames.
Where the university-
The school is on Ames Place,
Right,
and they're closing between Webb Avenue and University
Ames
Avenue.
Place between Webb and University, not
Right.
a Webb and University.
Not the major thoroughfares, Sylvia.
Right, but it's not Claflin.
No, it's just that Claflin's one way, and it runs out of Ames, so there's no way to get into that street. if Ames is blocked.
So just to allow, to let the web, people know that it will be closed, and the
Yeah.
Claflin people know it's gonna be difficult to get in or into Claflin.
Got
I would
it.
assume that DOT and the police could reroute buses around Riverdale Avenue. They'll find a way to handle this.
Yeah.
So the 50 will be on it.
Do you guys need the whole Eames place, or just half, and then so you can allow traffic through, Claflin?
I don't think traffic can come through Claflin. I think they have to come in through Eames to get to Claflin.
Right, the question is, do you need to close down all of Eames Place, or at least, or just that half between University and Claflin?
I think we would be okay with half. We could
Would you
do
work that out with
half.
the 50?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
a very good idea. Just say it louder.
Yeah, okay, I have no further questions. Anybody? We'll take a motion to approve.
So moved.
Anyone disagree? See no hands, no voices, no anything. So
I think this is a great idea.
Assuming we're all alive, we voted unanimously in favor. And, we will, just know that after tonight, next week, next Tuesday, I have to make this presentation before the, full board meeting, and the full board has to vote, to approve the SAPO for it to be, actually be approved. But you
Okay.
have our endorsement, and, again, welcome you to the community, and wish you great success in that school, and the youngsters who go there.
Thank you so much. I just was wondering one more thing. Is there any way to get like all the requirements for the actual day of and the preparation of like flyering and all of that information in it, like in an email, so I can make sure that I'm following all the rules and that we're doing everything that we're supposed to do?
Our website? No.
No, the city agency should provide you with all of that,
Okay,
be available, online.
The application, it asks all the questions, are you going to have food, if you're going to have.
Yeah, but you'd like more information, but I'm sure it's available at the same website. where you get the
Okay.
application.
perfect. Thank you
And-
so much.
District Manager Farah Rubin should be able to help you with, if you're having difficulty.
Okay, perfect. I have her contact information. Thank you very much.
Excellent.
Okay, well, good luck and happy, block party and a good school year.
Thank you. And you guys are all welcome to come if you want.
Thank you.
Vanessa.
Did you open there today?
Oh, we've been open for 2 weeks now, so this is our second week. And we're
Congratulations.
having a tour on November 21st, so you are more than welcome to also come tour our school as well.
You're having what on November 21st?
I'm sorry, September 21st, a tour of our school building. We beautified the space and we would love our community members to come in and see who we are, what we do, and just meet and greet our staff.
Okay, well, thank you for the invitation and, have a good block party.
Thank you. Have a great evening, everyone.
Request was, could you email to us an invitation?
Absolutely.
Great, thank you and, have a good evening.
All righty. Have a great one, everyone.
We have a second SAPO, and I don't know if, Madison Piano is here or representative. For the committee's purposes, please note that I have asked Farah several occasions, and she's contacted the 50 on several occasions, I've asked for information about this. From my impression, actually David was able to supply the information.
In the waiting room, it says admit.
You are sharing it. It's coming over.
Yeah.
Yeah, but can you see the blue
Button.
Barely,
for admit?
I can't see my arrow.
I see it now, yep, you got it. Oh, nope, it was right behind it.
Oh, all right.
Oh, in the waiting room, there's a phone Admit, yeah, you gotta click.
Oh, we should,
Admit right there.
Yeah, no, you gotta admit right there.
We'll find out who that is.
So, yeah, before I finish my thoughts.
Yeah.
Welcome, iPhone, could you identify yourself, please?
Hi, am I unmuted?
There's another person on the line, iPhone 8941820. I'll remove them if they don't. Oh, they just updated. Jay Green. Real.
Are you here as part of the SAPO?
Muted.
Hello?
I'm sorry, what was your question?
I'm asking if you're here, you're welcome. Are you here as part of the SAPO?
No, I'm not.
Okay, well, welcome anyway. So I will
Thank you.
finish my comments then. I've contacted the, close this. Contacted the 5-0, actually, Farah contacted, they have not gotten back to us. David is concerned that this was the first, that this particular event has taken place in past years. It's related somehow to students from Manhattan College, and this is the first time they've applied for a SAPO. We have requested, Farah has requested several times, told them that if they do not appear, the application will not be approved. So they aren't here, and I won't even ask for a vote, but it's not approved. But I will note a couple of inconsistencies which have bothered me. One is that Madison lives in New Providence. I'm assuming, no one's here to say differently, that this person is a student. Unlike the school, which is connected to the community, this individual is not identifying themselves as being part of in college or anywhere else. So so I have no idea of knowing what they're doing. What's more important to me is, first, you'll notice I copied what's written on the application featuring hot dogs, water balloons, and bubble machine. I have nothing against any of those things, except you will note on question number 26, any food and/or beverage be distributed or sold at the event? The answer is no. Well, if they're not being sold or distributed, what are the hot dogs? So the inconsistency. And 28 is even worse. Will alcohol be sold, consumed, or distributed at the event? And the answer was yes. So how is 26 and 28 aligned? There are a lot of problems with this, which the individual who is asking for the SAPO could have resolved had that person been present for this meeting. So the recommendation to the board on next Tuesday is going to be to deny the SAPO application on attendance.
Andrea has her hands up. I don't know if that's from before.
Someone has a hand up?
I don't know if it's from
Hi,
before.
good evening.
Yes?
Good evening.
Yeah, Andrea, yes?
Hi, I'm Andrea Arnold. I represent Riverdale House, which is a co-op on the end of 238th Street at 474. And when we saw this come across our collected agendas that come through from CB8, we were quite horrified as a community to see this. I'm grateful that you have seen the inconsistencies, and the biggest inconsistency of this is, if this is a student body, they have so many other spaces to have a student summer splish splash, and this does not help them to meet the neighbors that are in this neighborhood. Greystone Avenue between 230th and West 238th Street is filled with families, and it's filled with like multiple challenges of parking. Garages share space with the road. People double park in people's garages and they rent them out. This is an impossible location and a regrettable. Once again, I'm grateful that you have the inconsistencies, but for a student body to hold a party on a community street up until 9 o'clock with a 9:30 breakdown, and not to get involved first and foremost with the neighbors is, I'm grateful that you're saying no.
Just clarify, please, one thing for me. Have there been other such events prior to this?
Sort of.
So, I have lived there for 10 years, and the answer would be no. The only ones that happen are in people's rented accommodation when they keep neighbors up until the middle of the mornings with their own private parties. So, understandably, you can understand why a community like ours, just a block and a half away from Manhattan College, would be extremely shy of supporting something that's for students, not for neighbors. The idea that they're going to be consuming alcohol, they can do that in their own rental spaces anyway. That's where I stand on that. And I represent one co-op out of many down that street.
Well, I thank you for being here and making those comments. And it certainly fills out some of the gaps I had, but you already noted I had quite a few gaps. Rosemary?
Thank you. It sounds like we're going to be not approving this for not showing up, inconsistencies, and I'd like just to add a third, because I went up and down that street. It's an amazing block. There are at least 15 individual curb cuts going into individual garages.
Yep.
15.
That's
on the
correct.
block. In addition, I counted more than 10 curb cuts, either going into large garages, so there would be a lot of cars using that street to get into the garage, or curb cuts going to backyards. You know how many times houses have garages in the back?
Mhm.
Multiple garages.
That's
One, I looked down and I counted 10 garages in the back. So
Mhm.
we're talking about a lot of cars, with a lot of curb cuts to give them access, and it just, once again, as are they telling their neighbors about this? It's a very sensitive block, I think, for parking. That's exactly someplace where there should be total 100% agreement with this.
Right.
Disruption of that street, sorry, I'm going on.
I don't, yeah.
Rosemary, thank you. The bottom line also is the fact that these are student bodies, and they have a lot of land space where they could communicate with their own college and host their own gathering on their college campus without taking over our community streets.
David?
Yes, I had raised a number of questions about this, particularly it sounds like a big BYOB session.
Yeah.
But I sent this information my concerns to Margaret Della, who's our secretary, who happens to live on the next block north of 238th Street. And her response was, yes, Manhattan College usually has a big bender in September. First I've seen of a SAPO street closing for it. It will happen whether we sanction the event or not.
Correct.
It seems to be a current Manhattan College student, according to LinkedIn. So that's what is confirming who Madison is. I do not have anything to contribute other than the inconsistencies that you point out. Seems like a long event for hot dogs, bubbles, and alcohol.
Just strikes me also in that line, in the application, they're gonna advertise via posters and socials. And I'm sure social media has already exploded with this. So, yes, I'm fearful it will take place anyway. So the 5-0 has to be given a heads up. They will be,
After our vote, right?
the what?
After our vote,
Well, they can be informed about it whether we vote or not. What is the date, the projected date for this?
The 30th.
Okay, so there's still time, but, I'm sorry, was there someone else?
Jessica, get your hand
No, I didn't.
in? Oh, okay, thanks. And David, that was your, Steve, that was your question?
No, I mean, I just want to point out, and maybe it's obvious, from what other people have said, that, you know, that the end of the street, I don't know if it's, I'm not good with directions, but the end of the street that's near Onbiel Bach, which is 238 and Greystone, is enormously congested, challenging in the best of times. I just cannot imagine if there's no safety valve of this street to make a right turn, what that will look like. You know, that's just not a good street, period. So it's just not, it's not the right place for this. And so are we gonna notify the 5-0, just so they're prepared?
Again, yes.
Okay.
So, Andrea, thank you very much. I think you got the sentiment of the committee and what I'm gonna be telling the board. But I see a hand, Brett, you wanna talk to this subject?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes?
Yes, I just wanted to, thank you for saying no to this proposal because it obviously would endanger a lot of people if this were to happen. It's not right that they didn't ask the neighbors about this block party. And I think a lot of the time this student body does overstep its boundaries. I feel sometimes like our neighborhood is treated like a personal playground. So I hope that, you know, whatever happens, the 5-0 is going to know about it and they're going to be able to keep everybody safe. Thank you.
Again, all we can do is say no and inform the 5-0. Beyond that, we can't do much other if they decide to hold it. It's up to the 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Thank
sharing
you.
with us. Okay, so I'm gonna close off this section of the meeting. We do have a long agenda, and I wanna make this, before the weekend. I've asked, and Steve has accepted, he is our new vice chair of the committee, and I appreciate his email, I appreciate his acceptance. Thank you, Steve. Up to this point, and including tonight so far, I have been the secretary. There's no increase in salary, but if anyone would like to take notes, I'd be more than happy to double that salary.
The job of the newbies.
00.
I'll think about it. There's always more meetings. Now, from the June 2023 minutes, I indicated there that I was going to impose, in the new business, I indicated I would impose a new, rule, is too strong a term, but as a procedure, anyone who wants to notify me of new business, because we've had this problem at least last year, where if the new business I'm not notified in advance so that I can prepare responses or materials for an effective discussion, then new business will have to wait for the following month. And so 3 items, if I'm advised in advance, I can prep. If it's introduced with the intention of future discussion, or if there's a sense of urgency that it has to be discussed now, in those cases, we'll take it up. Otherwise, it'll be put off for the following month. One question came up last year is, do I have a repository somewhere? And the answer is no. Of all the questions I'm asked during the course of the year, and so there's a couple coming up that I was asked, I just want to share. I was asked by, what do you call it, by Farah, after we had the hearing in July, there were requests for copies of the testimony that was submitted at our public hearing. The question was, is there a reason or not reason to give them out, or do they have to go through a foil to get them? My advice to her was a public statement in a public venue, and if it's handwritten, send it. If not, it's already on the videotape. They can use their own computers to transcribe it on their own. So I recommended no need for a foil. If requested, fine. Question came up about confidentiality. The documents that were sent to us concerning the cricket field were stamped with confidential on it. The question was, it was confidential. The question was, since it was already provided and discussed at a public hearing. We didn't see anything that was confidential about it, so didn't think we had to recognize its confidentiality. However, in checking with the number of experts in the field, I'll say Chuck in this case, who suggested ask the borough president. It came through the borough president, asked the borough president what to do. I have no idea what the follow-up on that was. Actually, the request, I think, came from the press. So those are two bits of advice I gave over the summer. I wanted you to be aware. Yes.
Have you moved on from, that proposal about new business? You passed that?
Yeah.
Okay, so I didn't have a chance to ask the question. First of all, you're talking about how you plan to run this committee, not
Correct.
a board rule.
This is not a board rule.
Okay. And my second question is, when it says, number 2, the item to be introduced is intended for future discussion, I don't understand what that means.
I'm telling you that it's raining outside, but I want to discuss getting umbrellas next month.
I can clarify. No, where it's just like, so what I understand from this, it's like, if you have new business, to identify whether there's an urgency to address it at the meeting, or it's just being raised at the meeting, right, as a theme, to be then discussed at a future meeting, right? And like, being able to distinguish that in advance, so Marty's not having to like figure out what you're trying to do during the meeting,
No,
and
that
we
makes
can be
perfect sense.
respectful
That's
of
not
everyone's time.
exactly what it says, but that makes
Yeah,
perfect
so I guess the language, right, in these bullets are not as clear, but, Marty did a good job of just expressing it verbally, so,
Got it.
I
I want to take this opportunity to thank you for joining the committee.
You're welcome.
Now, as I noted, as I date this in July. In July, I took part in a audio telephone conference with someone from the Committee on Open Government. If you read the Open Meetings Law, it suggests that there is a time period when, excuse me, the law has to be renewed, excuse me, and COG has responsibility of investigating or researching its effectiveness and whether it should be renewed or not renewed. And so it was a lengthy conversation. She asked for 10 minutes. We must have been on for over a half hour. And I summarized the items I discussed during the course of that discussion. I shared that all with you. If you're in advance and have any questions, feel free to ask. If not, I'll be happy to answer the questions later. But this kind of lays out, in my view, benefits or dysfunction of creating this hybrid. I think it's created a lot of difficulties for no particular reason. The only good thing about it is the ability to is inducing us to do telecommunications. Thank you. So we have visitors here, but as indicated last night at the executive board meeting, when we had discussed the cricket field, there were over 100 people. Certainly would not have fit in this room, or probably any other room we could have arranged. But having them participate, I know what's going on, I think that's extremely valuable. The idea of extraordinary circumstances, I find weird. Believe it or not, before the COVID came, you either attended a meeting or you didn't. You were present or you weren't present. So the advantage they gave us with these hybrid meetings, I think, and establishing our procedures, has created all kinds of nonsense. So that was pretty much the tone of my conversation with the lady I spoke with, and I share it with you. Again, if you have any thoughts.
Yeah,
Yes, go ahead.
so who's the lady, sorry?
I am going to guess she either was hired for the purpose of she didn't have a title. Either she was hired for this purpose only, or an intern of some kind. But normally we talk to the deputy director. Her name is McNichols.
your memory's better than mine on that. I remember the fellow who got kicked out.
Yeah, we love
That's
him.
the one I remember, yeah. Robert Friedman, right?
Right. No, I didn't speak with her, I spoke with, again.
A staffer, right?
Jennifer.
Can we go back to the top?
Sure.
This is essentially the conversation regarding teleconferencing, of which we're leveraging right now, right? So,
Really,
Yes.
video conferencing. It says teleconferencing all throughout that. It's not teleconferencing, it's video conferencing.
okay, understood. First one, like, can we just, I don't know what the first one, only the major executive orders, limited to one meeting, so, okay, so what does that mean?
What that means is when this new law was passed, providing for hybrid meetings, we were just about going into the COVID emergency.
Mm-hmm.
And as a result, almost all, I can't speak for all, but almost all of them aware of, agencies, state, city, whatever, no longer had to have in-person meetings. All of our meetings were on Zoom. And the reason we were allowed to Zoom is because in the law it says that the governor had the authority to have an executive order declaring an emergency. And the governor kept renewing and renewing and renewing, and we were very happy with that to some degree. And then the governor said, had enough. But the law also said that if you're the head of a city agency, whatever.
Locality, whatever.
A locality
Yeah.
with over 1 million population, you also have that authority. So our mayor began with emergencies. So we went from a governor emergency to a mayor's emergency until the mayor finally stopped. And the first meeting, even though the law was 2 years old, the first year we were forced or required to come back in person to meetings was, would have been June, was our first meeting. So when she asked me our experience concerning telecommunication
Or
or
radio conferencing.
video conferencing,
Mhm.
I had one meeting to talk about.
Oh,
But we had
okay.
spent a lot of time discussing this in this committee and the board about procedures and what we ought to do and not do, and what made sense and what didn't make sense.
I see, okay, so this is your response saying that, essentially your evidence to propose any suggestions is limited to one meeting. So you can't have any opinion based on just a single meeting.
But I do have opinions based
But
on.
it's only based on one meeting.
Right, so you can't, right, so you don't have enough empirical evidence to know whether or not we,
Yeah, I advise her of that, but we do have all the history of our discussion. It was not something that was sprung on us. We spent over 1.5 years
Right,
working
okay.
on this and what the implications were.
There were also several committee meetings that operated under a hybrid, since June, in June, before the board meeting, which was late. So, there is experience with this as well as an awful lot of talking.
Can I ask a question? Last June, I had a hybrid meeting. I had a issue, which I brought to your attention, and I spoke to Steve also, and I was told that the procedures were very clear. If I had any further questions, I should bring it to the September meeting. Here I am. So, my question now is, and it was brought up last night a little bit also as far as the procedures are concerned. There was confusion. What I would like to know is, are we going to revisit it? Are we going to change anything? The extenuating circumstances have been thrown out the window. Yes, they are, because people are taking it for vacations. They're away on vacations and they're putting in for extenuating circumstances.
But it doesn't matter what they choose to put in for or request. It's up to the committee chair for a committee meeting and the
But
board
we
chair for a board meeting.
specifically picked certain things that we were going to okay, and now that has changed. The second thing is that, it needs some kind, in my opinion, it needs some kind of follow-up in terms of actual, delivery of these procedures, because, one, they take advantage of it. Two, they do not, display themselves, they just have their name on it.
Mm-hmm.
One
two-
person has, wait a minute, well, just let me finish and I'll let you, please. People have had more than one reason for, pulling this. There's one person that does it every time, and it's not the two people that I fought for to have the ADA, designation. I think that there has to be some enforcement. Just putting out procedures and nobody looking at it or nobody paying attention to it is not gonna work.
Just
And
say
we are
no.
having more of these meetings every,
Sylvia, just say no.
That's right.
If you're uncomfortable with it, just say no to every request. And then the procedures will develop and we'll figure out the best way to proceed. But there's no guarantee. The whole point of it is it's supposed to be up to the committee chair's discretion. When you had your meeting last year, there was an unusual circumstance. No one knew we were going to hybrid, that the mayor's declaration would not be repeated. And you had someone who was planning to be away, expecting they could join a meeting as they had for the past 2 years. And that sounded like being flexible would allow that person to attend under that circumstance. But going forward, knowing that we're in the world of the hybrid meeting, if someone says, I'll be away, well, if you were away 4 years ago or 3 years ago, you were away. That's it. No questions asked. You don't have to spend more than 2 seconds on that.
let me just, bring up one more issue and then I'll be quiet. At the special meeting about the cricket, situation, there were, about 6 people who were on Zoom. Only one declared that he was there because of, others voted, they were members, of course, of the board, and they were counted as votes, and everything was done. But actually, what should have happened, in my opinion, is that the secretary, when taking the, attendance, should have indicated those that have, doesn't have to be mentioned what they are there for, but, I think there has to be some kind of follow-up.
Minutes are supposed to reflect who was there on
Well,
extraordinary.
we haven't gotten those minutes, so I can't really say that
Correct.
they're not doing it.
So I can't answer that, and it's up to the chair of the committee, board, or whomever, to grant them, written in writing, a written request and a written approval, otherwise you can't be a hybrid situation. What happened at that meeting, I'm not chair, I can't answer that. Last night, I looked at it, and I saw 2.5 blanked, squares, and I was about to make an issue of it. I didn't because two of the who were blanked were not members of the exec and really had no vote, no input, and so they were members of the public.
Just like a member of the public, right?
And the half is a person who, for whatever reason, was out of town and was going on and off because of noise in the background. I would say 75% she was visible, and the other time she wasn't. I didn't think it was worth making an issue because no issue we made. But you're right. Someone who is participating in the meeting, based on the law, must be visible at all times. These silly signs make absolutely no sense to me at all, but that's in the law. We don't want to break the law.
Cricket.
Can I answer her, one of the, because it touched on the cricket, because we were talking about the cricket meeting, where that one person, and that was my error, that one person, because of the hybrid thing, and after last night, thank you for not choking me. And it will be, and it has been corrected. I believe I even emailed him, I forgot who it was, but he, was a board member. That's the one who said, I'm here, but I don't count, or something like that. And I, in error, said, oh, no, you count, you're a board member. And then when I was corrected later on, I believe I emailed him, and the minutes will reflect that. Other people who, and the minutes will be to the board before, because a letter had been sent out to all the board members in regard to that, meeting, but the minutes naturally are late, but they will be to all the members before our meeting. And that was my error, when he said, you know, he was there, but he's not a member, and I said, oh, yes, you are. But then it was corrected, and it will be reflected in the minutes. Other people did ask for the hybrid and request, and they will be noted, who asked to be requested as extraordinary circumstances and who didn't.
Other thing, I just wanted to clarify one more thing. I wasn't involved in the leadership for that special meeting, but it's, all of these things we're talking about happen to be very unusual situations. You know, meetings called on extremely short notice, it was felt that it was important. And so again, if someone was unavailable for that meeting, expecting the next meeting of the board was in September, you know, that creates, yeah, like truly, that creates a challenge. And I think you have to give this a chance to be used for a few months. And then the hope, we always expected we'd revisit and maybe get more specific about that. At least from an LRE
We're
perspective.
not gonna revisit it because the resolution that was made, that we revisit it every May. So we are gonna revisit it. May we have to look at it.
So to answer your original question, this was the attempt of Committee on Open Government to do their follow-up, to see how it's working out in the field, and we're gonna do exactly the same thing. Our follow-up, it'll be from meeting to meeting, we'll discuss it, that something worked or didn't work. And I, for one, as you know, and I got the ADA thing,
I much appreciate it.
because I leaned on the right people finally.
Well, good.
COG was of no help. But the whole idea of requesting extraordinary circumstances has bothered me from day one. And so when someone suggested, you know, we can do this and that, and I said, no, that's, can't. If someone's a snowbird, then maybe you shouldn't be on the board anymore. And so you can't have month after month after month because you're out of town. A particular meeting, I'll get to November in a moment, a particular meeting may not, that's the choice of the chair.
But don't you think that it should be made clear at attendance which are the valid extraordinary circumstances and which, you know, so that you know
Yes,
which...
all we have done is say, as the law requires, is putting it in the minutes. But announcing who is X, Y, and Z are members of the committee, because I've granted them extraordinary circumstances, they can participate and vote.
It has to be done anyway, because you have to, your committee has to know if it has a quorum and can act.
Well, that's just...
But there's no question it has to be
That
publicized.
cricket meeting, there were people up there that, people sitting at the table said, oh, well, she's a member of the board, she can vote.
Okay, so there could have been.
So there was a lot of confusion.
There was an error,
That needs to be clarified up front, not at just the minutes, you're
But
right.
if you have a quorum here, then the people, board members who have requested extraordinary circumstances.
They
can vote,
Yeah, they can vote. So the error only was with one person. Well, when we see the minutes, we'll know. When we see the minutes by this weekend, but I believe it was with that, and I don't remember who it was, but, I know I'm just here, I don't know. But the other people, I think there was maybe about 3 when we see the minutes, because they emailed it in. They asked, you know.
But what is Julia is suggesting, and it makes sense, is that whoever's chair of the meeting ought to say, these 3 people have gotten permission. So you know, of the 5 who are up there, only the 3 can participate.
Mhm.
And
And
just,
it doesn't have to be announced as to why they're...
right,
No.
exactly,
We
right,
already decided that.
Yeah.
right.
No disclosure.
Two things. One, I think key thing is what Steve said, here, you get to decide. If you see that so-and-so has missed 3 or 4 meetings or gotten extraordinary circumstances, extenuating circumstances for 3 or 4 meetings, you can use your judgment as chair to say, sorry.
But how do you correct that so that they don't continue to do it?
It doesn't,
No, they just can't
no.
vote, they just can't vote.
They can't vote at that meeting, and then it could be
That's it.
brought before
but there doesn't seem to be any clear way of doing that at this time. What I'm asking is whether we're going to go back to the drawing board and make that clearer in our procedure.
Definitely could go back to the drawing boards and look at it. And I say, I've had problems from day one. And we argued at the committee
I know.
over making a list, not making a list. Item number 9, which is what I discussed with them, based on our procedures, you have to notify in advance. Well, if it's extraordinary,
Right,
And
you
it
might not
just
have an
happened.
advance notice.
how do you know an hour and 2 hours in advance
Right.
it's going to happen?
There's a conflict
I
in the
got
law.
home last night and found out that somebody wanted, 2 people actually wanted, extenuating circumstances. for-
Extraordinary circumstances.
Well,
Yeah, the language is
Well, wait,
extraordinary.
hang
In the
on.
law, yeah.
Well, that was another question I was gonna raise. We gotta decide which word we're using.
but for right, to me, extenuating is
They-
more important,
they
but
beat me
whatever.
up. They beat me up, it's extraordinary.
Okay, fine.
Fine, all right, I'll go with it.
Semantics.
But if you look at 7 and 9, there's conflict. I don't think, 7 is
These are
EO.
just
I think
Marty's thoughts.
Yeah, I know, but I think number 7 is
There's
actually
also nothing
EC.
called EO. There's a lot of EOs in there.
Yeah,
There's
but
no
I think
such
it's
thing
supposed
as
to
EO.
be EC. Anyway, when I got home last night, I saw that 2 people had requested, extraordinary circumstances for my, budget meeting. You know about it, they made the request of them around 4 o'clock.
That's pretty late.
I think there's a time limit on it, isn't it, by noon?
Yes.
It's by noon.
Which is a contradiction in terms.
Right, because you
Right.
may find out at 3:30 that you've got an extraordinary circumstance.
Right.
There is a perfect request that should be granted, and then you can think of others. The perfect request is, whoops, sorry.
London?
Should we go like through bullet by bullet? So I understood the first one, the second one.
Well, Steve, why don't you finish your thought?
Yeah, I was just gonna say.
Okay, great.
An
Sure.
example would be that you find out at 8:30 a.m. that day that you don't have childcare that you normally have. So you send an email to the committee chair before noon and say, I got this problem. I didn't plan for this, so it's an extraordinary circumstance, it's unexpected, and it's emergent enough. It's sort of, that I couldn't sort of do something and have a workaround. It happens to be, in my view, a good example. There have to be others, of course. And Marty's idea, and the committee's idea, I think, was to just let this percolate. Let people work it through, and then if they have the experience you're having, where you say, the same people keep coming up, and again, I can't emphasize enough, just say no. Say no to everyone. Don't even give it a thought. Just say no. If that bothers you, then just do it that way, and then you can wait for other people to have the experience.
The thing is that one of our officers has now done it 3 times.
Doesn't matter, say no.
And she has a camera that watches her go through an airport, down the street, and then when she got to the point where she made her statement last night as a report, she only had her name on it. She didn't even have a picture on it. So I'm not going to go up to her and say, you're absolutely out of sync with this whole thing. What I'm talking about is enforcement. I don't want to take one person on.
Oh, go ahead, yeah.
And I'm not
Say
sure,
take over.
I'm not sure you learn to go like this, okay? It's up to him.
Oh, okay, I don't know.
Recognizes who speaks. So,
Okay.
Marty? Okay.
Rosemary?
So I think, and I don't know if I'm getting your point, and I think I am, it's a kind of a fairness document, Stephen, we're kind of a fairness that, so one chair says, okay, you have to do your laundry tonight, that's extraordinary circumstances, and Sylvia says, are you kidding me? The answer is no. But, okay, if there's nothing that can be, that's exactly what I'm asking. If the way the system is set up acknowledges that there is going to be, I don't want to say irregularities, but imbalance, variations in who gets, this is an accepted, okay. I think, is that your issue, that it's
Well, it could fluctuate like that.
I thought
But
that's what she was
I'm talking
asking.
about
Okay.
specific things that I have seen and nobody says anything about it, and it pisses me off, pardon me.
Sylvia, I can talk,
But you raised
I can
the
talk with
issue
you
that-
offline, because I was forced to think about this all year last year. I'm happy to talk to you offline about it.
Yeah. Well, I did speak to
But
you
you
at
raised
one
the
point,
issue that
and
from
you
committee
said,
to
"Let us
committee,
just do it."
there's no
Why
consistency.
start
Right.
trouble?
And I think
But
that's
she
okay,
did it 2
Marty.
more times.
She has her hand raised.
Okay, let Marty.
Okay, thanks. So is the issue that the person might feel resentment, right, if you say no? Because I do agree with Steve and that would kind of like, the answer is no, right? Because as a chair, you have that, right? That there would be a retaliation, because, when you say no? Oh, okay, so then,
No,
you know.
but the thing though is that this woman has now gone to at least 2 other people besides myself to get this extraordinary, you know.
To get that
circumstance.
approved, but the approval comes from you as the chair.
It wasn't from me the other 2 times.
What, she's not talking about her committee, she's talking about the committee that I had last night. I gave the request for the extraordinary circumstances. And to me, I had no issue with it last night. Yes, they may have gone on and off, because I know when I use, like, my mom's computer, when I talk, people can't hear me, and I have to bend all the way down, so I'll turn it off. Maybe it was different circumstances last night, but we saw the individual's face. At times, they had to go on and off for whatever reason, but they requested the extraordinary circumstances within the time frame in writing, and I gave it back to her. So that was the exec committee. So that if they're doing it in your committee, like, every committee will handle theirs separately, and it is what it is. You know.
They learn from one, situation.
It doesn't matter, it doesn't matter.
I think we should drop it.
But you could address it, because we have to address it as a board every May. So we will address it, so that's something good, valid to put in there. But for now, every committee chair has, you know, they can say
I would
yes,
like
no.
to learn why she turns it on and off, frankly. Because I saw the same thing, and
I noticed it too.
I didn't jump at it because of the other 2, but,
Actually, to
it
be
doesn't-
very honest, it's because I let her do it the first time, and I felt that she was just exaggerating it, and she's just taking advantage. If she really had it,
And I don't feel like that.
you know, that's a different story.
David, I'd like to move the agenda.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say, real quick, we give chairs, the leeway, the responsibility to run their meetings. So Chair A could be a hard ass, and Chair C could be a pushover. Okay.
Or someone.
Okay.
No, it actually is.
It
No,
is
that's
their
the way
style,
you run your committee and, meeting. Now, if you're acting in a prejudicial manner, that you're not allowing women to do it, but you're allowing men, that's a different issue. But you have the authority to run your meeting as you think, as you see fit.
In more ways than just this.
Yes.
But I wouldn't use the term pushover, I would use the term more accepting and open-minded.
He's just joking,
No, he's not.
I know.
One
No,
more comment.
actually, I am joking. I'm trying to point out extremes.
Extremes, yes, the spectrum.
One more comment, and I'm moving on.
Yes, I just wanna ask, like, well, I understand what you're saying then, that every chair then can stylistically do what they have to do to meet quorum, to make decisions, right, for the benefit of the community. What I don't know is there an allowance of extraordinary circumstances that people can budget in? Or can someone, you know, like, perhaps that's something that we could propose then, that can resolve some of the management or the, you know, people taking advantage of the opportunity to be hybrid?
The procedures that are on our website, it's, in every one of our announcements, it's an asterisk for the procedures, is intended to be limited, and that's on certain circumstances, discretion, but it's not designed for month after month, the same person have the same or slightly different circumstance, and therefore never show up at a meeting. It's not designed for that.
Oh, so you're at a disadvantage in this discussion, because you're new to the board.
Right, I'm new, right.
So you haven't read the procedures.
Right.
We actually have resolutions that allow for hybrid meetings, that got a lot of work went into that, some changes, and then we have a list of procedures for the implementation of things like extraordinary circumstances. So reading Marty's opinions in the list of 10, it's kind of hard to go at it that way.
Okay.
So maybe, Marty, if I could impose upon you to just direct Jessica, and anyone else who hasn't looked at this closely, just to at least see those two documents.
All right,
Look into it,
last comment.
take some time, and then call me, talk about anyone that you would
Yeah, no, I'm
like more
excited to
information
learn,
on.
so, yeah, okay, cause like, I'm not even sure, like, collectively, annually, how many meetings we have, and then perhaps, like, you know, if you're missing more than half the meetings in person, or something like around that.
That's reason in the bylaws to be thrown off the committee.
I believe you're gonna be using this as the basis for like a next, edit version. Kindly change any reference to teleconference to video conference,
I think that's the
and
most.
double check on number 7, I
This
believe you
is
meant.
history. I'm not
But
using that.
I believe you're going to use it as the basis for future documents.
It'll be cleaned up if it does.
That's what I'm saying.
It doesn't need to, it doesn't need busy work now, but I understand what you're
Yeah.
saying.
And also, number 7, I think you meant EC, not EO.
Right.
Right, but then, isn't that just executive order, two
But
members?
No, it's not.
Ah, you
Order.
meant EC, okay, yeah, and, okay, all right. That's, okay.
Moving right along.
Anyone on the line have anything?
And because another thing Steve corrected me on, and I made it,
Omar is trying to join the meeting.
Oh, admit.
come on. Murray, as I explained, how did I break, I broke, okay. Just explained last night, just to say this, be over this, telecommunication, video, have, the real world, everyone's in the same room, end of discussion. This permitted us to have teleconferencing, video conferencing, whatever conferencing, so that others could participate who are not in the room. All of our meetings now, all of the meetings of the board, committee-wise, are held in this room. All of the announcements, as you read them, says committee members should be here, but any public come teleconferencing. There's no room for 70 people here. Now, if there is, as of right now, the committee is here, did you finally come in, Omar?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, Omar should be lit up. Omar, you have to go on video. Video on, sound on. You remember the committee? Okay, doesn't have to be sound on.
If he didn't get any,
They didn't get the.
yeah, then he's just like a member of the public.
He's just a member of the public, okay.
Right?
Okay.
He's still
Yes,
absent.
see, we're learning.
But you was asking.
Anyway, as you're
This
saying.
meeting right here, we are all present. Omar is not. We're all here. And as a result, this is a regular meeting allowing for video conferencing. If Omar had contacted me and said, I'd like extraordinary circumstance and participate via video, then it becomes a hybrid meeting. This is not a hybrid meeting. The terminology is used, thrown in,
It wasn't clear, but today's clear.
well, last night, it was very confusing with who was on, who was off. We have participation by request, people who are on video, and therefore is a hybrid meeting. This, we are in an in-person meeting,
Understood.
having teleconferencing. Moving forward, I
Are we
hope.
still having public safe, point of information, are we still having public safety meetings, for example, at the police, at the
Yeah,
precinct?
it was mentioned last night, yes.
Okay, so clearly, these are old-fashioned meetings.
Yes, they
You
don't
hope
allow
that-
that.
No, no, really, we've talked about that.
Okay.
A committee chair can decide that
Yeah.
they're just going to have a meeting, they don't
Economic
have
is-
the equipment.
Economic is like that also.
See, but the real trick tomorrow, not tomorrow, the real trick with public safety is that there's an item on the agenda of great interest, how the police will allow the hordes who are expected to show up to come in. Can't do videotaping, you can't do, no teleconferencing at all, video conferencing. So everyone who wants to participate has to be there.
Yeah, I mean, look, if it's
It's
a
a five
special,
O's
if it's a
problem.
matter of extraordinary interest, and there's advance notice, then maybe you set up your equipment, I think we have such equipment, at a site which is not this tiny room. At the precinct, no, you find another venue, just like we have other
I
venues.
think the police want the meeting there for the
I understand.
facilitating
I
the
understand.
officers.
I'm just saying, if
Okay.
it's one of those things that may have to yield, that's all.
Code of conduct. I'd like to run through this quickly. I'm continuing to
10 minutes.
move on. Kind of what Julie said last night about having short meetings. Prior to this year, each of us, this year, it was nothing. This year, the borough president asked every member of every community board to sign a code of conduct. Quite extensive and well-written. I had been talking about setting up a code of conduct prior to that coming out, because there were issues I felt at our own board meeting that needed addressing. Tried several months ago and put out a statement on civility, which fell on deaf ears. And then we started pushing for code of conduct, and then suddenly, the borough president came out with one. So I asked you, my wife went to a conference in Schaumburg, Illinois, and while she was at the conference, I did some wandering, and I went to the shopping mall, and I saw this. I had to take a picture of it. So we don't have to copy any of this in any way, picketing, demonstrating, carrying guns, loitering. It's nothing to do with any of our meetings, I would ever hope. So I just found it, and I sent you copies of this, just because I thought it just struck me, code of conduct. So, this is the borough president's code of conduct, which you signed.
It's on our website, Marty, or no? This is
Well,
separate, right?
This, I plugged in afterwards, yes.
It is on our website, or?
I plugged it from the borough president, sent out the invitations, and asked us to sign and return these.
Marty, when you had just the two paragraphs here, is that because you took a couple of the paragraphs there that you
These
felt
two
were applicable? Okay.
These two paragraphs. Now, the question is, we need this in any form, substance, since we've all signed the full one. I said the other issue that was driving this is the newspaper, the Bronx Times, which you may get, I get them on every day on email. They had a cover story on two community boards that had real problems with behavior during the course of their meetings. And I don't know if that was the impetus for the borough president or not, but it said one board, at least one board, reads a code of conduct before every board meeting. Do we have to do that? Technically, I would think not. The only reason I did this is because the thing we signed talks only about board members. And here, I threw in community. Now, we've never had a problem with community. A couple of people may have gone a little weird once or twice, but generally, we've never had a problem with the community's behavior. So I would tend to think at this moment, unless you dissuade me, we can go past this. We already have a code of conduct.
Marty, you had different minutes and things going around. You had 3 questions about this, I recall. I just can't find them in this.
Back to the minutes. Yeah.
I mean, just, you said, should we read it? Should we have it on the? Okay.
Questions are here somewhere. Typo, no. No. There's our friends there, no.
I can read it, I found it. Should it become part of our meeting notices? Should it be read before every meeting, or should it become part of the ethical guidance manual or the board's procedures manual? Those are your three questions.
There it is.
I don't know if you wanted these addressed.
Free. Free.
Yeah, I don't have a strong view of it, I just felt like it was an order of business that you.
Well, again, at this time, I wasn't aware yet that the borough president had sent one out. I must have been, because I took the two paragraphs from her. So,
But it was only the people who were reappointed or appointed this year who actually saw those. I don't think it was last year, but I wasn't
No, it wasn't
reappointed
last
last year.
correct. Over the summer, we got these things.
So it's only
So
part of
I
it.
don't think it existed then.
Only half the board.
It's sort of, whatever the proportion is.
I don't recall, does the borough president deal with the, how we treat the staff?
It was in there.
In the borough president,
How
about
we treat
staff?
each other, but how we treat staff also.
It does
It's
say
in
in
there.
staff? Okay. I like your summary, and half the board hasn't signed it.
I thought all members were asked to sign it. Existing, new board members.
Existing members?
New
also?
reappointed, I don't
Right,
think.
but
we
not
did.
existing.
I thought it was everyone's asked.
I don't think, but I'm not sure.
That approximately half the board members have to apply for their 2 years. Those people sign.
Right.
Okay, oh, okay, right.
Right. I mean, just really quick. First of all, I think that as far as reading it before every meeting, I don't think it's the end of the world if Julie decides at the first meeting of the year that that's not a bad thing to read. Whether you decide to do that every time, I think it's kind of in discretion of the chair. I mean, obviously, you can make the committee can make a recommendation. I don't think it would be a problem for it to be in the ethical guidance manual. You just get the language straight. There are a couple of little tweaks, but I think that would be okay too. Making it part of the public notices may be overkill. Already kind of crowded at times.
Put them at the bottom. People, particularly in the community, should be aware that we do have conduct, and, at the bottom, it may be ignored, but at least it's there, and forewarning and fair warning. Our agendas are not that one. No, they're not.
No, unless because Marty's are.
Well, because he puts the body of minutes in the agenda, but that's a different matter.
Only here, not the public notice.
That, it's raining, but we'll talk about an umbrella next time. Is this one of the examples? We're just kind of presenting it, but, not like voting on it or anything?
Well, I'm asking for opinions. Again, I was asked by one board member why we even needed this. I was stymied at the time, but I realize now the reason I put it in because I included community. It doesn't have to be. We're all signed, we're all adults, and if something happens, which is the next question coming up, we can all make reference. You signed this. This is how come you're over the line? So,
But if a community member, for example, hypothetically, is out of line, they kindly leave, the chair says kindly leave, and may need enforcement, this explains why the chair has that authority.
Good point, because the community members didn't sign a borough
Right.
president.
Right.
That's true,
Well,
yeah.
half the board, let's not forget.
And half the board.
probably okay.
I think this is a good idea. The community, and we do have community members.
So, based on what I'm hearing, and I'm not hearing very much, is that Steve would like to spend a little time correcting me for a change. And, go back next month and make a affirmative decision to go forward. So we put it, there's still a question, but, putting it at the bottom of our notice is one place. Open for discussion.
An 8-point type would not be.
What?
8-point type at the bottom would not be terrible.
Okay, well,
Nobody could see it.
To be the complaint, right? So,
you get your notice and glasses at the same time.
Could I ask a dumb question? We haven't had that kind of a
I
situation.
promise a dumb answer.
Aren't you inviting, possible in the audience to think now's the time? I mean, why wouldn't you just leave it to the members who have already signed the borough president's, thing? And if situation comes up with a, meeting where the community gets, rambunctious, there's still plenty of time to put that in. Why ask for trouble?
Effective is
prevent
forestall
trouble,
it.
yeah, it seems preventative, not to incite.
I understand, but still bringing up something that, you know.
I'm not gonna hang my hat and say, this is for you, the community. We don't trust you, that's why, this is our code of conduct. Direct and not the full page that she has.
It's, you know, it's a reasonable thing to state because it's very, very clear that in the environment of Zoom over the last couple of years, people, not necessarily nastily, but people just interrupt each other all the time because they're not clear as to whether somebody stopped talking or whatever, and that approach.
Human nature.
No, it's gotten much worse in the last 3 years, and it has, spilled over into the in-person environment. So, telling folks, you know, keep it in mind, is, I think, a good idea.
Societally speaking, behavior, personal one-to-one behavior has gotten worse,
Yeah.
thanks to Zoom.
Yeah?
I can say do a lot of things in the privacy of my home that I wouldn't dare say. Dave, sit next to me. Vice versa. So I'm gonna leave this hanging for this month and bring it back again next month. See if anybody, any thoughts? Role of parliamentary, I hear your voice, yes, Rosemary?
Just a quick question, I don't, maybe Jill, do you have any idea why the borough president hasn't asked every board member to sign it? Is there, I'm missing a logic to it, that only half,
I know the people who were reappointed and the new members.
and that's it?
I'll double check, I have that on my notes right here. Did all members sign?
Okay.
I already have that on my notes.
That could make a difference.
As a new member, were you asked to sign that?
We did have to sign that, we did.
Sylvia, were you reappointed this last year?
You had
Was
to
anyone
sign it.
not reappointed this last year? David? Marty?
Oh, no, I didn't get it.
No, I got one. I signed.
But you were reappointed. You were not reappointed because you were on your off year,
And
and you didn't get it. Okay, that's the answer.
No, I'm midterm.
My thought was that everyone was asked.
Well, no.
No.
Apparently
Only
not.
if you renewed.
Now, I raised this last night, I've raised it a couple of times, and I'll raise it again here. On this issue of code of conduct, there have been times over the last year at least where I have felt where members of the board have gone past the line on civility. The question is, role of parliamentarian. Is it my role to say, whoa, hold it, or not? Generally, that is the role of the chair of the committee, but if it gets extensive and the chair doesn't, should the parliamentarian step in? I personally do not want to, but,
I really think it's up to the person chairing the meeting. You just can't take that authority away. They have the pulse of, you know, what's going on. First of all, it shouldn't be your burden, and second of all, you're not a cop. You're supposed to be answering questions
that's the line we used last year.
based on it.
I'm not the cop. give them a call.
as the Chief Justice said, just calling balls and strikes.
Happened for a while.
I forget which board, but I know one board has a, like a sergeant at arms. No, for real.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have a sergeant at arms.
Old fashioned, right? I am going to quickly go through this, just to give you a heads up, the new members. In fact, I got two the last week. One I think I forwarded to you, one I haven't yet. COIB, Conflict of Interest Board. In the letter that comes up next, we are people who run the Roberts Rules business and countrywide, but the local one had a few sessions that I went to, and they love the word precedence. So I didn't misspell the word when I typed it. We get a little further. Precedence, what precedes the other? Just know, as members of LRE, which is important for you to know, that we exist because of the city charter. Established us, and the borough president appoints us. That's where we come from. However, we are bound, first of all, by the open meetings law from the state. And the people who oversee compliance with the open meetings law is the Committee on Open Government, COG. You like with a small o, COG, what do you? I don't say it, I just write. I'm saying COG, okay. Another county you heard from. They have a strange responsibility, I'll make the distinction in a minute. Their job is to advise, have no legal authority. So if they say, thou shalt not, and you do anyway, they can't do anything about it. But you have the courts to go to that, for that implementation of what their suggestions. So we have questions, and we have lots of questions we send there. We usually get what's called an advisory, and all their advisories are available on web, set up that if you put in a topic, you can find the number of advisories on the topic you're concerned about. And if you're not happy with that, you contact Neil, that's her name, Kristen O'Neill.
Okay.
Contact her, Committee of Open Government, and they will respond really very quickly. That's the state level. Underneath that is the city charter, and the people who implement the city charter is the committee, as the Conflict of Interest Board, COIB. And unlike COG, they have authority. When someone brings a complaint, you come with a question to them, they'll answer your question. Or if someone comes with a complaint, they have the authority to fine people, to arrange for the dismissal of people. They have real clout. And so I get these, what they call the dispositions. And as you read these, people have told me this is the funniest part of my minute, because you can't believe people were this stupid.
Yep.
And when you read what their titles were, you say, how can that person be that stupid? So I'm given time, I'm gonna let you read them on your own. I just want to know, I pointed this out last night, that sometimes I read things, these are the ones, I sent you these yellow ones after I sent out the originals. I don't think I sent out the September 6th, no. I have that. But I have this one, last one. Now I enlarged the first 4 words because I misread it when I first read it. I saw an 8.
And I had to read it again.
What?
And so what I tend to do is I get these, I forward them, and before the meeting, I finally get a chance to read them. And I read them, I highlight things that I think are important. And I got to this one, and I saw an 8, and the chair of our board
would be involved in this. I mean, we're involved in this. We do this Yankee Stadium stuff. So it was reasonable, I don't know about all of this is reasonable for Laura, our previous, chairperson. 2 years ago, 2019. Could have happened. Realizing that I sent this out without reading it first, I was inclined to call up Laura and apologize to her. Just give her a heads up. Just know this is coming up. You will be, they will know what you did. But then I decided to research it further, because each of these summaries come also, and I've not passed those on, the full documentation of what took place. And as I read the full documentation, that 8 became a 6. So I said, whoa, this is not Laura. Good thing I didn't call her to apologize, because nothing to apologize for. Anyway, this could have happened. Interestingly, it did not. I mean, some of the good ones is we've had a deputy borough president in the Bronx who used our office for political purposes. We've had a person working in the city morgue who had a private funeral home, who was borrowing bodies for his own business. We had the chancellor of the city of New York, who did pretty close to the same thing, who got tickets for the kids to go to an event. I remember the event, who he and his wife went. He was forced to pay money for having violated conflicts of interest. So these can be funny because they're so stupid, but it's good to know.
Sorry.
I'm not gonna go over the spreadsheet. You got the full spreadsheet. I just broke it down here. We have 3 city council representatives from our area. So this is Carmen De La Rosa. These are the items she put in. These are the items that Eric Dinowitz put in. And
Colors and what's the key for the colors?
there's
Different
no
council
key.
people. They're just different
There's
council.
no
Oh,
key.
just for
It's
different
whatever
reasons.
color I pick at the time.
For our 3 council members.
And I'm not
Okay.
consistent from month to month. I have no idea why I pick any of these colors.
And then what is this exactly? I'm just,
In the city council, each of the council members have the opportunity to bring up a bill on their own, and they hope for support from other members. So the column with the name says this is the primary sponsor of this bill, and the second two numbers indicate the number of people who have signed on so far. Co-sponsored, to give it a little more clout to move it through. Now these, interestingly, from Purina, 3 of hers have already been made into law, which is that second column. Those are the law numbers based on what she submitted and the number of sponsors. It's my impression that 30 is the veto-proof number. If you have 30 sponsors, you're pretty sure whatever the mayor does, it's going through. Even though his first one here, she only had 3 sponsors, still went through.
well,
So I leave it to you to read about. I noted in the thing I sent out that in the past, I had the displeasure of reading all of these. And I warned you not to print them out for the fun of it, because you're talking about pages and pages of stuff you'll probably never look at it, read. But if there are ones you want to highlight and print out on your own, certainly do that. I have asked and suggested in the letter I sent out, because I very seldom get any feedback on these. And so I'm wondering why I'm doing it. I'm doing it primarily, I'm building on what Rosemary did when I inherited this position. She didn't do the spreadsheet this way. This is my invention. So, but I used to read through all of them and highlight things I thought was important. Although I did go out of my way to highlight this one. This concerns my health insurance, that the mayor is trying to
Which one, sorry?
The last one, the
Gray
one from Charles Barron, who was the prime sponsor, and now there are 17 co-sponsors, and the mayor does not want it, the speaker of the council doesn't want it, the chair of Civil Service and Labor Committee doesn't want it, so Eric Denowitz, who is I've spoken to a number of times, supports us, but is not prepared to put his name down.
It's not a community board issue. The community board has not taken a position on this. This is just
Though we've been asked, I've turned down the
hand
people who
politics.
asked. I said the one of interest to me, I was very clear about that.
They sent to all the chairs? It would be kind of good for them.
I sent it, on occasion, I sent it to all the chairs. This last one I sent 2 days ago went to all the chairs.
All the charts.
And I recommend the full chart.
Yeah, so that's great, because they can pick and choose.
And
That's
I sort them by committee. So each chairperson, but if they don't want to read the whole thing, can read their committee to see if there's anything. Now, in the case of Eric, he is on he is chair of the Higher Education Committee. But he's also involved, he's also he's on the Veterans Committee. And I guess he's on, I don't know what other committees he's on. These are all Eric's.
I've never seen anything like this.
It's actually public information
Got a
that,
good audience.
fortunately,
We've got a new audience member.
Marty, actually goes through all this for us. This is much bigger than that chart.
Yeah.
If you want, I'll bring up the chart.
A lot more colors than are
No.
possible.
No, there are no more colors. Those that are highlighted here and this one are the only ones that are different than the rest. They're set up by committee, so it's easier for the chair to go directly to. The one that comes from the city, the one you get on the city website is not broken by committee. Once I've downloaded, I sort it.
a lot of work.
The computer does most of it. Finally, back in 2019, I sent out this document on my own on behalf of the committee. Nobody beat me up, got upset about it. I'm still in summer lag, so day by day I think of other things I'm sending to you rather than all at once. Hopefully that won't happen for the next meeting. But I sent this out in 2019. We have 12 new members to the board, plus those who joined last year. I thought it'd be a good idea to reissue it again. I modified it to the degree that new things happened. So it's an updated one. I use the word here, precedence, not because I misspelled it, because that's what the people from Robert's Rules use. And as I was saying, first is state law, open meetings law, second is city charter in precedence, third is our bylaws, and fourth is Robert's Rules. So when people waive Robert's Rules, you have to be sure that it doesn't violate, and there are cases where it does, either our bylaws or the city laws. And the example I've given is Robert's Rules love supermajorities. In order to pass something, you have to have 2/3 vote. Well, city charter says, no, majority is a majority, there's no supermajorities. So there are other occasions where there's conflict. So, I sent it out this afternoon, you may not have had a chance to read it. So I am willing to,
Thank you for that.
I am willing to wait a month for you to look it over, consider it before I send it out to the full board membership.
I didn't get it till like.
Well, you're good at that, you can zip right through.
Marty?
Yes.
Let's go back up to, the last, just below that. That's the last one.
should we include our procedures manual as the lowest?
At the list?
Yeah, I have EGM, but I don't have procedures manual.
I'm
No
sorry?
no, I have EGM, but not procedures manual, no reason not to have it.
Okay.
also online, yes.
When you send this, are you sending links or some guidance to where to find, for example, the bylaws?
Good call.
As the,
Yeah, but the website,
It's worth putting a direct link on each of the
we
items.
can hyperlink
This-
that, I think that's
Hyperlink, yeah.
possible, yeah.
okay, it can be done,
I don't mind
oh, that's down in
dropping.
the office, okay.
That's what the
Marty,
office
it's a
staff is
piece
for.
of cake. I have no idea how to do it.
I don't mind.
Cause like, I'd like to know where these things
But I have
are.
the asterisk there. And it's
Yeah.
CBA, what it said, these documents be found on the CBA website.
Just go all the way to the bottom of the website, and you'll see it.
But it is always a good idea to include a hyperlink
If one exists.
I agree.
Okay, I will figure out how to do that.
I
We'll
can
be
help.
very
I can do it
happy.
for you. It'll take me 5 minutes, I can do it for you.
Marty should just volunteer to
They're
help you
both
with
of
that.
us. The new people
And by
say
the
we
way,
got
that
this.
sounds like the job of a secretary.
You think I'm passing this up? I don't wanna jump for joy in the middle of the meeting, but,
I mean, committee secretary.
just a heads up to our new members, because I go ad infinitum on this. There are 4 ways to vote when a resolution comes forward. In order for a resolution to pass, written here, you need a majority of those present and voting. I'll come back to numbers in a moment. Keep that in mind. Majority of those who are present and voting for it to pass. If you vote no, then that's not one of the yeses. And if you abstain, it's not one of the yeses. So noes and abstentions count as noes because the item has not passed. But we have another thing you ought to be aware of. It's not used very often, but it's used. Present ineligible to vote. Something that is before the board that I have a personal, I think the thing I just said in the spreadsheet, I have a personal financial interest in what came up. The city wants to come in and take over my house to build something else. I'm gonna vote no. I don't want my house. Or I'm gonna vote yes, I want the money. I have a vested interest either way. So if that's the situation, then I am forced to vote that I'm present but ineligible to vote. Therefore, my vote doesn't count toward the majority. Example, 10 people at the meeting. 5 vote yes, 5 vote no. It fails. Same 10 people. 5 vote yes, 4 vote no, 1 abstains. Doesn't pass. 5 vote yes, 4 vote no, 1 owns the building. It passes because this person is ineligible to vote, and now you have a majority of those present and voting.
Because it doesn't count as part of the
Well
quorum.
explained, thank you, Marty.
That makes sense, yeah, thank you.
So if you're present and ineligible to vote, you have to live by the 3 Ds, and by the 3 Ds is you declare your conflict, you have the ability to discuss the item, rant and rave about my building, but I do not vote. Okay, so I think,
Along those lines, there's one thing, nitpicking, but we really should do it.
How often our votes are anybody against, anybody abstaining, therefore it's unanimous? No. Chair can announce, I declare it unanimous, but it's actually not necessarily unanimous because you don't have any yes votes. But the chair, you can declare that this vote is unanimous for. That's technical.
that's an innuendo, not an innuendo, there's a nuance there you're missing. When we voted for the last 2 years via Zoom,
Mhm.
it was a pain to call roll call every time you had a vote.
Exactly right.
And
Yeah.
so we worked backwards. Are there any no votes?
No, I don't have a problem with the procedure. All I'm saying is that the chair should say, not that it was unanimous, but rather, I will deem it
Yeah.
unanimous.
Or something passes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I ask
That's
a
all.
question about abstaining? So you need to have a reason to abstain. I know when you abstain with cause, you could be challenged and say under what cause.
I tried, a couple of years back, there was a court case, I forget where, I can go look it up, where the court decision was basically that being an official obligated you to take a position. Therefore, abstention should not be taken lightly. So lots of people, I don't want to get involved in this, I'll abstain, or this is too hot for me to, or whatever their reasons are. Technically, you can't stop them. Morally, I think they're avoiding their
So
responsibility.
you can only challenge them on a with cause.
Right, because it has that special,
Right.
it comes with that special thing that it reduces the quorum, so that's why.
You ask them what your cause is, and they don't have to be explicit. I have a financial interest.
And that's,
I have a family interest. You don't have to say specifically what it is.
what is that abstention? So many people, they just abstain and it's like, take
Too
it
much of that
back.
lately.
Cowardice and lack of,
Like, I could see if they don't have enough information, say abstain because I don't have enough. They could say yes or no.
I agree, that's what Marty was saying.
Years ago, those who were, I'm not sure if you were on the committee, you were on the committee. When Irving Latimer was on the, this was Irving Latimer's issue. It drove him crazy that people would abstain.
I know.
I
Say yes
cannot
or no.
tell you how many
But what do we
hours
do
he
about it?
spent. Because none of us would vote in favor of what he wanted to do. He wanted to take abstention away as a possibility. But it never got any place in the committee, but he was absolutely passionate about that. It's funny that this year comes out, and I remember him.
I didn't know that.
Because of the term limits, I will not be able to beat Irving's record. Now, he wasn't longer serving, because I got him on the board way back when, but he was 102 when he passed away as a member of the board. I won't be able to make it.
With a
because-
great attendance record, by the way.
Wow. Very active.
I don't think you should sell yourself short, you wait a couple of years, get back on the board, and I'll invest in you, I'll bet on you.
I think it's only 1 year that we need to be on.
Oh, my God.
Oh, you'll see new members, the Irving Latimer Award, you'll see them, I think at the next meeting.
Yes, at
It's
6:30.
named for
Was
Irving
there,
Latimer.
oh,
Yes,
and there was a street naming though, or was that something?
I don't think so.
I don't think we need
Oh, okay,
to-
maybe I'm
No.
mistaken.
No.
Oh, but that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to explain to the new members why we had SAPO applications here. You probably hadn't ever heard of the word SAPO, or you
I had to
did.
look it up during the meeting.
Normally, they come to subject matter committees that are,
It is up to the chair of the board to decide where to have a SAPO hearing. Generally speaking, to match. If it's this kind of activity and this kind of request, then it goes to that committee. The problem here is timing. We're the first committee meeting before Tuesday's, we're the only committee meeting before Tuesday's board meeting, and I was requested by the chair to have these.
Mine is that he had a full
He has an agenda longer than mine.
full agenda.
Speaking of which, the next item, next meeting. I am not thrilled about it, but life is what it is. So our September meeting, I was asked, because, land use has a meeting, has an agenda with items that are timely and need to be discussed in a timely fashion, I gave up our date. The date would have been Labor Day. So I gave him our date, and we ended up tonight. And I thank you all for making that adjustment. For October, our meeting date is Columbus's birthday or Indigenous Peoples' Day, whichever you celebrate or don't celebrate. We're not gonna meet that day. I requested an alternate date. Thursday, October 12th, was what one of the ones suggested. It was the earliest one, so I took it. So I'm asking you, please, again, to adjust your calendars. Now, November may be easier or not. November 14th, I don't want to be extraordinary circumstances, but I will not be in town. Granddaughter's bat mitzvah,
Oh,
so,
you can't miss that.
can't miss that, not at all. So, I'll be out of town. So either, we'll see what happens in October, either select an alternate date, or I'll say what Rosemary, it's true, what Rosemary told me when I took this, you don't have to have a meeting every month.
That's right, did say that, yeah.
So I just want you to keep that in mind. 14th, I will not be available.
That's a Tuesday.
So Rosemary told you you had to take the chair position. She told me I had to join the committee. She's like,
Good.
like a mom.
And the first chance she had, she quit the committee.
Do you not wanna do the 16th, which is a Thursday? Looks like we've been consistent on Thursdays. The
Right
14th
now-
is a Tuesday.
Right now, I haven't made my plans yet, so I don't
I
want
wanna see, okay.
days I'll be
What on October?
October or better. Definitely, the 14th, I'll definitely not be here. That weekend, I think, 12th, it's the bat mitzvah. And hang in a little longer than that. Good to see my grandkids now and then. So, is there any, well, I didn't put it in, new business, old business?
Oh, this is great. This is very informative.
9/26? 29. I will do the best I can on the minutes, which I do all the time. Thank Feely, who I have this stupid tape to go to. Just said that for posterity. And I don't know what happened to Omar. He punched in and punched out quick,
Yeah.
gone. He's done that before, too. Any questions, ideas, thoughts?
Anyone online?
The first thing I need to do is that. The second thing I need to do is turn off.
Have a good night.
Share. There's the red.
Right?
I'm going,
Oh, stop the recording.
okay.
Okay.
now I want to stop recording.
You say good night?
All right. Good night, everyone online. Thank you.
What does that say, stop?
Yeah, I think so.